The San Francisco 49ers are entering one of the most fascinating transitional periods in recent franchise history, and the storylines surrounding this team right now feel less like a routine offseason and more like the early chapters of a high-stakes evolution. This is a roster that has been knocking on the door for years, powered by elite talent, elite coaching, and a system that has consistently produced results. But now, the questions are louder, the margin for error is thinner, and the decisions being made in this moment will define whether this team remains a contender or begins to slide into uncertainty. One of the clearest signs of that transition is the departure of Spencer Burford, a player who quietly embodied the depth and resilience of this offensive line over the past 4 seasons. Appearing in 56 games with 38 starts, Burford was never the headline name, but he represented something critical to this team's identity: reliability. His move to the Raiders is more than just a roster transaction. It's a reminder that continuity along the offensive line is fragile, and for a team built around timing, rhythm, and protection, even these under-the-radar losses carry real consequences. And that brings us directly to the most pressing issue facing the 49ers right now: the future of Trent Williams. This isn't just a contract negotiation. This is the cornerstone of the entire offensive structure. Williams, even at 38 years old, remains one of the most dominant left tackles in football. His presence defines how Kyle Shanahan calls plays, how Brock Purdy operates in the pocket, and how the run game functions at its highest level. The standoff between Williams and the organization is layered with complexity. On one side, the 49ers are trying to manage a massive $38.8 million cap hit, while maintaining flexibility across a roster that has grown increasingly expensive. On the other side, Williams is looking for security, knowing that this may be his final opportunity to secure guaranteed money at an elite level. The proposed middle ground, guaranteeing roughly $25 million in 2026 and $30 million in 2027, feels like a logical compromise, but even that comes with long-term implications. Because here's the reality: the 49ers don't have a replacement. Not yet. And until they do, they are effectively forced to continue investing at a premium level. That urgency is reflected in the latest mock draft projections, where offensive tackle is suddenly a major focus. A player like the Clemson standout being mocked to San Francisco isn't just depth. He's insurance. He's a potential successor. And perhaps most importantly, he's leverage in negotiations like this one. But even if the offensive line situation stabilizes, the health of this offense hinges on another critical figure: George Kittle. And what we're learning about his injury adds a new layer of concern to the 49ers' outlook. Kittle didn't just suffer a random Achilles tear. It was the result of accumulated damage, of playing through a significant ankle injury, of compensating, of pushing his body through the brutal stretch of an NFL season. That kind of injury history doesn't just heal overnight. It changes how a player moves, how a coaching staff manages snaps, and how an offense allocates responsibility. Kittle is more than a tight end in this system. He's a tone setter, a mismatch creator, and one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. If he's not fully himself, the ripple effects will be felt everywhere, from the run game to red zone efficiency. And that's exactly why the 49ers have made such a dramatic shift at wide receiver. The addition of Mike Evans and Christian Kirk signals a philosophical adjustment in how this offense wants to operate. For years, the 49ers leaned heavily on versatility, on interchangeable pieces, on receivers who could blur positional lines. Now, there's a clearer structure forming. Evans as the boundary X, Pearsall as the flexible outside threat, Kirk operating from the slot. This isn't just about adding talent. This is about redefining spacing, redefining matchups, and giving Brock Purdy a more traditional framework to work within. Evans, in particular, changes everything. His size, his catch radius, his ability to win contested balls. These are elements the 49ers haven't consistently had. And the fact that he chose San Francisco despite receiving a significantly higher offer elsewhere tells you everything about where this team stands in the league hierarchy. This is still a destination. This is still a contender. And players know it. But with that comes expectation. And with expectation comes pressure. Right now, the spotlight is shifting toward Brock Purdy in a way we haven't fully seen before. With a revamped receiving core and potential instability at tight end, Purdy is going to be asked to carry more of the offensive burden. The days of purely system-driven success are fading. This is becoming a quarterback-driven offense, and how Purdy responds will define the ceiling of this team. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the 49ers' evolving identity, now's the time to hit that subscribe button and stay locked in, because this offseason is setting up one of the most pivotal seasons in franchise history. And while the offense grabs the headlines, there are serious questions on the defensive side of the ball that cannot be ignored, starting with the safety position. When a voice like Richard Sherman speaks, especially about the secondary, it carries weight. His call for the addition of a veteran safety isn't just nostalgia. It's rooted in understanding how championship defenses function. Right now, the 49ers are relying on young, developing players like Jair Brown and Malik Mustafa. There's talent there. There's speed, aggression, flashes of high-level play. But there's also inconsistency. And in the NFL, especially in high-leverage moments, inconsistency in the secondary gets exposed immediately. Sherman's point about veteran presence is critical. It's not just about production. It's about communication, positioning, anticipation. It's about having someone who can calm the defense, who can recognize formations before the snap, who can prevent the kind of breakdowns that swing games. The example of Tashaun Gipson isn't random. It's a blueprint. And yet, the 49ers have historically been reluctant to invest heavily at safety. That philosophy is being tested right now. Because if the pass rush doesn't dominate the way it has in previous seasons, the secondary will be under more pressure than ever before. That's where the draft conversation becomes even more intriguing. At pick 27, the 49ers are in a position where multiple needs intersect. Wide receiver depth, defensive line reinforcement, secondary help, all are on the table. The debate around prospects reflects that. Uncertainty. Do you take a dynamic playmaker like Concepcion? Do you reach for a defensive tackle who can anchor the interior? Do you gamble on an unpolished edge rusher with elite physical tools? Every option carries risk. Every option reflects a different vision for how this team evolves. And that's the theme of this entire offseason: evolution. The 49ers are not rebuilding. They are recalibrating. They are trying to extend a championship window while simultaneously preparing for the future. That's one of the hardest balancing acts in professional sports, and it requires precision in every decision, from contract negotiations to draft selections to free agent signings. Even the running back situation highlights this tension. Christian McCaffrey remains the engine of the offense, but after a 400-touch season, the question isn't about talent. It's about sustainability. Can the 49ers continue to rely on that level of usage without risking decline or injury? Should they be more aggressive in adding depth? Should they adjust the offensive philosophy to distribute touches more evenly? These are not small questions. These are foundational decisions that will impact the trajectory of the season. And as we zoom out, the big picture becomes clear. The 49ers are standing at a crossroads. They have the talent to compete for a championship right now, but they also have underlying vulnerabilities that could derail that pursuit if not addressed properly. The offensive line must hold together. Trent Williams must be resolved. George Kittle must recover. The new receiving core must gel quickly. The secondary must stabilize. The draft must deliver immediate contributors. That's a lot to ask, but that's the standard for a team with Super Bowl aspirations. And as this story continues to unfold, every move, every decision, every adjustment will be scrutinized through that lens. So if you want to stay ahead of every development, every roster move, every strategic shift, make sure you're subscribed and locked in, because the San Francisco 49ers are about to take us on one of the most compelling journeys of the NFL season.